middle you will. So just giving you a heads up. The chat is on. Great. Guys, thank you so much. And Abdul, thank you very much for the really, really kind introduction. You guys are, I know, AIESECers are very kind with their words always, and I'm purposefully biased towards this organization. I'm already establishing that in the beginning of the call, so you guys understand every single piece of love that will come out of my heart for AIESEC is completely biased. It's because what the kind of impact that it has made on me. So I'll just speak my truth there. First, thank you. It's a privilege to be able to, speaking to an audience like that, especially people who are young and hungry for personal growth, transformation. And I love the subject, the topic, mind over meds. I don't know whoever came up with it, but that's a genius title. You guys should trademark it. For me, it's a privilege, and I want to thank you first. Today, like I'm fully aware, like the life that I have right now is I quite enjoy it, right? But one of my strengths, unique strengths, I would say, is that the memory of where I started doesn't leave me. Like it's where I started, it still stays with me. That okay, even though how far I go, my painfully aware mind goes that okay, remember where you started from. So to me, this is really meaningful because this 7 years ago, it would terrify me to do this, what I'm doing, right? And today, even though I get invited and introduced as, like an international entrepreneur who does like personal growth events and stuff like that, it's great. But I'm fully aware that not so long ago, I'm the same kid who had no idea what he wanted to do with his life, and today I'm getting introduced as, speaking at different places around the world, and some talks have millions of views. That's true. But I'm fully aware that I'm also the same kid that not so long ago was absolutely terrified of speaking in public, let alone in English. And I do not say that to express any humility. It is absolutely true. You can check back with my people from my life who knew me 10 years ago, right? And it's the same story with my relationships. It's the same story with the kind of health that I enjoy. I look younger than I did 8 years ago. It's true. You can go back and check. Everything is online already, right? And it's the same story with the kind of business that I run, the life that I lead, the amount of money that I make, all of that. And to me, the awareness of where I started is incredibly important. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share the things that I'm really passionate about. And what I can guarantee you is that in the next 90 minutes, it will probably be the most important 90 minutes of your life. And I do not say that lightly. And the place where that is coming from is because the things that I'm about to share are the things that I've shared around the world, across demographics, and they've been applied on me, on thousands of my clients, and have truly had a transformational impact in our lives. So the weight of that proof is too strong. So I know for sure that the next 90 minutes engagement for not all of you, about 20% of you, because all of you will be inspired or happy. That I can guarantee. That much experience I have now. But there's a short fraction of the people who get inspired to the people who actually make a lasting change. And those are the kind of people I'm interested in speaking with, right? That's why I asked you to turn on your videos, right? And that's why I will chat with you a little bit. And every single time we respond back, instead of just learning passively, every time we are responding back, it's a signal to our neurology that, hey, this is important. It's because it's a bit uncomfortable. It's a bit outside the ordinary habits that you have. So every time you do that, by turning on your video, by responding to the messages, by raising your hand in the video, right, I will see that. And those are the people who actually make a significant difference in their lives. And to me, the fact that over 100 people are here on this call learning, and you guys are young people, way younger than me. I'm jealous of that. Quite young people, really hungry for learning and growth. That's super, super rare. And the ability to learn, to show up, to learn new things is the thing that makes a huge difference between whatever definition of success one might have in anywhere in the world. Like, I give you an example. Not so long ago, I was in November in Costa Rica with Jack Canfield. If you don't know Jack Canfield, he's the guy who co-authored Chicken Soup for the Soul. You know this book for sure. They sold more than 500 million books. And the guy, it's just one of his books. He's had a really successful life. He's 75 years old. And I've got the privilege to be invited at a very private retreat for about a week, with him, and it was a transformational retreat. We spent about a week together. And Jack, he's 75 years old at that time. Yeah, his birthday is still not there. So he's still 75 years old. And at the time, we went there and there was like a small workshop setting. And he's a big, like one of the biggest leadership, personal growth authors in the world. He doesn't need to learn anything. And when I go into that hall of like a small room, and I see Jack in the room, and not only is he there, he's also in the front seat. And not only is he in the front seat, he's there with his notebook and pen in his hand. And this is the pattern that I noticed across industries. The smartest people are the ones who are the most hungry for growth and learning, and the ones who show up with not the mindset, oh, I know that, right? Like, because sometimes we learn, we're sitting through and we hear something that, okay, yeah, I know that, I've heard this somewhere. And the moment our brain says, oh, I know that, it shuts down any possibility of learning anything new. And the people who actually are really pushing the boundaries are the ones who show up to even the same thing again and again by the mindset of, even if I learn one tiny thing in this entire hour, week, month, right, that would be worth it. So the fact that you guys are here, engage with that mindset, hopefully, at least 20% of you, I'm sure, right? Engage with that mindset. That's the key to actually make a big difference and have dramatic transformation in whichever area of your life that you're choosing to make. That is something that's unanimous. And there's enough studies and resources that I would point you in the direction of, which I think everybody should go through, like some books, some podcasts, whatever comes to my mind. I just have some reference points of the things that I want to share with you. And at some point, maybe in Q&A or maybe during the talk, I may reference some books. Would be amazing, right, for you to learn from. So that's something of a context that I wanted to share. And when I say my awareness of where I was and where I am now, it's truly a privilege to be here and have this conversation. And because I'm fully aware, I wasn't supposed to be here. Right? The image is clear. Like, the traditional path wasn't supposed to lead me here. And I grew up in a middle-class family in India. My first full-time job was actually $100 a month, full-time. Right? So that's the state that I grew up from. Right? And I don't know, through many privileges along the way, and have a very supportive environment of family, really privileged family to be supportive and for my growth and new things that I wanted to do. I somehow stumbled upon a path that took me in the last 12 years into doing the thing that I get to do now. But one of those key things was joining AIESEC. When I joined AIESEC, that changed everything for me. I remember, like, it's funny. I'm 31 years old now. I remember August 23rd, 2008, like it was yesterday. That's the day I joined AIESEC. It was like my second birthday. Right? So it has had an absolutely profound impact on me. The kind of the way I lead people, the way I think about businesses, the way I think about serving something bigger than us, right? And it's also inspired the vision of Life Plugin, which is my company. I think the inspiration still started from AIESEC. So AIESEC has had a huge impact on me, and these AIESECers know it by now. So like I've expressed it enough times. Like, I can spend the rest of my life expressing gratitude for AIESEC, and it would still not be enough. So if you're someone who hasn't joined AIESEC, I don't even have to ask you to join it. By the end of 90 minutes, you would be waiting for the application, because it's one of the coolest things an 18 to 21-year-old can do in this time and age. So absolutely phenomenal organization. Now, let's talk about the subject. If you're still listening and this is kind of interesting to you, now is your second opportunity to turn on your video so I can see more faces. Okay, I'll wait to see how many videos are on so I can see your faces. All right. So the subject of mind over myths. How many of you find the topic, the title, quite cool? Like mind over myths. Just raise your hand so I can see you. Yeah, and just look around. I'm curious, how many of you know someone, and be honest, know someone really close to you, yourself or someone close to you, who's been, depressed or who is depressed? Raise your hands. Okay, just look around. How many people have their hands up? What happened? What happened in one generation that every single person, it's in one generation. What happened in just one generation where almost every single person, depression has become a normal conversation. What happened? It's something for us to think about. There's a few changes that our generation went through, not good or bad, right? They're all trends, and we'll discuss them. Right? There are few things that we are doing that is influencing this behavior, and we got to uncover that. But first thing is for us to understand what is mental health issues. Mental health issues is mental health problem, if that we say a problem that we need to fix, is not a problem. It's a symptom. It's not the disease. It's a symptom and not the disease, and we got to understand that clear distinction. It's our bodies are highly sophisticated machines. Highly sophisticated. If you think about it, if we get a bacterial or viral infection, our body sophisticatedly raises 2 degrees of temperature, 2 degrees Celsius. No matter if you're in Antarctica or Bali, same temperature range. It's a highly sophisticated mechanism. And then you say, okay, he has fever, let's fix his fever. Right? If you try to fix the symptom, then what happens, the studies are clear on this. Your body takes longer to recover. Right? What we need to do is, if you're living in a house and there's a fire alarm, you wake up, you're sleeping in the night and then there's a fire alarm siren up. And you wake up and you just break the alarm because it's not letting you sleep. Good luck to you, right? What we have to do is listen to the fire alarm and look internally and see where the fire is. Right? We need to put out the fire. That's what we're here to talk about, to understand it's a symptom, not a disease. Same with diabetes, same with cancer. We can talk about it maybe at some other time. They're all symptoms, not the disease that we need to address. And this idea of mind over meds, we live in a culture where we have a quick fix it. Let's fix this problem. Oh, you have a problem? Let's fix it. And modern Western medicine is also for that. It's not preventive medicine. It's let's fix this problem, right? And it has its own place. If people have gone too far out of their natural alignment, right? And they're experiencing a lot of pain, it is useful. It has its place. I'm not denying that at all, right? But what we need to understand, if we're not that extreme yet, we are all very susceptible to go that extreme, right? So what we need to do is to think about holistic approach, preventive medicine, right? The modern medicine is just fix it, right? And there's more holistic medicine schools of thought, which Ayurveda is more preventive and it's more holistic. It addresses not just the symptom, but the root cause. Chinese medicine does that too, right? But what we need to understand is what changed in one generation that depression is just through the roof. What happened, right? Some of those things you might even know already. Let's see. One of the most fascinating books, actually, before I start, that I should recommend if anybody is curious about understanding mental health and well-being in the best possible form that it can be addressed. There's this book called The Lost Connections. It's by Johann Hari. If you haven't heard of it, it's the most comprehensive expression of what mental health issues are and where do they stem from a psychological perspective, from a biological perspective, environmental, physiological. There's The Lost Connections by Johann Hari. Absolutely phenomenal book. Now, I want to share my screen to just share this principle with you. I just have 2 slides for for this, just to show you something visually. So you might even want to take a screenshot of it. Raise your hands if you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. Great. Still do, right? Oh, I can't see. Wait. Sweet. So this is what I want to talk about: mental health and fitness. This is the idea, and this is what Life Plugin wants to address. The idea. This is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is it's a great psychologist, and he's been referenced through some of the greatest social psychologists even to this date in different shapes and forms. And what he talks about is that human beings have this pyramid hierarchy of needs. First is basic needs. These are physiological needs: food, water, warmth, rest. And then safety needs, security, kind of safety, like your job. Are you healthy? Is your government trying to trick you into something? The sense of safety. Right? These are the basic survival needs. And then there are psychological needs, which we'll talk about. And then so this is mental health. Until basic needs and psychological needs is mental health. And then my idea here is to not just talk about mental health, but how can we go beyond the narrative of mental health? So we develop mental fitness. And the reason why this is interesting to me, and I put this slide, put this text so that you can screenshot it if it's interesting. This is the thing that I want to talk about. Our generation today finds itself in a unique predicament. We're evolutionarily designed human beings, and we're designed to live in harmony with nature, right? That's what we are designed to be. But today we live in temperature controlled environment, completely sunlight deprived, live in concrete buildings, pollution, no nature around, and extremely fast food, artificial food, and highly processed food culture. That's the environment that we are living in, right? And then this is something that I wanted to share and discuss with everyone. And I'll put the slides back up again so you can take a screenshot if you haven't, and I'll share. These are the only 2 slides. I'll share them with you. But the idea, when there is a mental health issue or like depression, anxiety, uneasiness with the self, what we need to look at is, hey, let's look back at my pyramid. Where is the fire, right? Mental health is actually a great news. It's trying to tell us something. What we need to do is to not run away from it. The first thing that we need to understand is to not run away from it, is to walk towards it. The idea of personal growth is go where it's hard, right? Not like a sadistic person, but literally get curious. Why is it happening? Because it's just trying to tell us something. Every time we experience pain, it's trying to tell us something, right? So when there is an issue happening, we go inward, and this hierarchy of needs it's in a hierarchy because, until the basic needs are met, you can't go to the next layer. Until your sense of connection and belonging is met, you don't have the opportunity to think about your self-esteem or self-actualization or personal growth and all of that. If you don't have food on the table, if you're starving, you wouldn't be able to think about that, right? So now the first thing that I want to talk about is to think about it from this perspective. How long can you live without food? Probably a few months, right? How long can you live without water? A few days, right? Without sleep, actually maybe a week maximum, a week to maximum 2 weeks if you're like with edge cases. Without air, a few minutes, right? So when we're trying to think, these are the basic needs. Let's address the basic needs. When we're trying to address our basic needs, what do we need to do? Think how do we think our air is getting met? Think about it. And I'm not just talking about pollution, right? The pollution is there, but thanks to COVID, pollution went down. I don't know if it's coming up again, but it did go down, right? But the fact that we moved our lifestyle, we're designed evolutionarily to be in alignment with nature, to walk, have low levels of activity throughout the day. Throughout the day, we're not supposed to go and lift weights in the gym, like just 1 hour a day, right? Or 3 times a week, right? We're designed to do low level of activities throughout the day and stand throughout the day. What that does, first thing, right, is when you're standing, you're not slouched on a chair. Half of you are like sitting. I stopped doing that. We have standing desks, or most of my calls are while walking. Like when I had a call with I forget Himanshi, and I forget the gentleman's name again who introduced me. Very kind guy. But I had a call while walking. Right. The idea is how much are we able to put our airs in our lungs? Because when we are sitting down and slouched over our table, which is our normal lifestyle right now, most of the time we spend sitting. And when we are doing that, or with a slouched posture, there's less air in our lungs. And when there's less air in our lungs, it creates a stress response. Think about it. When do we breathe the most shallow? If some of the people have had their initial experiences of public speaking, you breathe very shallow. It's like that. Creates a stress response, right? And when do you breathe the most deeply? Is the most relaxing way to breathe because our body feels good. So the simplest thing to change, if you're talking about mental health issues, hey, how much are you breathing well? That's what pranayama is, or pranayam, right? Yoga, pranayam. This philosophy has been there with us for a really, really long time. But we need to connect. Like air, the way we need to breathe this needs to be different, right? That's the first thing. Next thing, let's talk about water, right? The hydration. We are designed to be constantly hydrated. How much water are we drinking every day, right? There's a lot of times when we think, okay, there's a big problem. It's because I haven't found my purpose, and that's why my life is messed up, and that's why I'm depressed. Everybody else has found their purpose. I'm going to talk about that. That's a layer above. But let's fix, like, if there are some dis-ease within the body, mentally, physically, the first thing that we need to look at is that, okay, where in the pyramid there could be a problem? posture is an obvious problem with the modern lifestyle. When I started this call with saying, hey, what changed? In one generation, what changed? One of the biggest things that changed is that all of us got into desk jobs. That's one of the things that changed. The breathing patterns changed significantly. Second thing, water is another example. Right? Right now, because we're in a fast food culture, right? And every time we get thirsty, because we are designed as hunter-gatherers, live in the nature, every time our body is a little low on water, it signals a hunger response, right? And then we go out, eat some fruits and vegetables, which are high in water content, and then we get hydrated like that. So it's a form of hunger that is deeply embedded in our DNA. But today in the modern world, every time we get thirsty, we get a hunger response, right? And what do we do? What do? We eat some processed food, right? Or something which takes even more water in our body for it to digest, which is more problems later, but water is a big one, right? Because we are perpetually dehydrated generation. One of the easiest things to do is to start your day with a liter of water, and ideally with some Himalayan salt, because it increases you don't need to know the details, but it increases the absorption of water in the body, right? With the salt, it has all the nice minerals that you lose while you sleep. Especially when you start your day, start with a half a liter to a liter of water, because that's the longest you've been away from water, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing, sunlight. Guys, this is a big one in India. Big one, right? The idea of the lighter your skin, the more beautiful you are. We have creams to make our skins lighter. What the hell is wrong, right? And then I know the reason. I grew up in that same environment, so I've had the same mindset, right? And today we are living in sunlight deprived environment perpetually. When I said what changed in one generation, that's another thing that changed. Our generation is the most sunlight deprived, vitamin D deprived generation of all. There's more than 85% of the world population right now, the modern world population is said to be deficient in vitamin D. The easiest thing to do is to be in the sun without the sunscreen. Literally without the sunscreen, it can even reverse your eyesight. By the way, wouldn't go into details. Morning sun, there's two things that happen. One is like in the afternoon sun, it produces vitamin D. The rule of thumb, if you want to make note, 30 minutes between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the sunlight, with as much skin exposed, as much, like within reason for you, but as much skin exposed. And this is the thing that boosts your immunity as well. So right now, is it relevant to improve our immunity? Hell yes, but not as much for you, as much as for our parents, even more, right? So what I'm doing right now, I'm forcing my parents to sit in the sun every single day. It's difficult for them, right? And for women, more difficult than men, because women's skin is more covered than men, right? And they also spend less time outside, and the beauty standards are also more extreme for women. But the darker your skin, the more sunlight you need. That's the idea. The reason why Europeans are whiter is because there's very little sunlight here. That's the reason. The color of the eye is also lighter is because there's very little sunlight here. These are all receptors receiving light as information. And when you don't find the sun, if you stay too long in a cave, it causes this dis-ease within, right? You have to go outside. And that's the thing that our body is trying to tell us. It's also the reason your immunity goes down. You start aging faster. All the heart diseases. It supports the expansion of cancer. All the major diseases, lack of vitamin D3. And then there's the argument where but I'll get more wrinkles. I'll get darker. I don't know. Gautam, you still don't understand the beauty standards here is hard. Or my family, every time I go. This is a regular conversation. If I do that, I'm afraid because my parents or my uncle or my auntie, especially my auntie, tells me, hey, you've become darker, right? And then your job is to tell them, hey, it's your choice, right? Do you want to be a beautiful corpse or have a few wrinkles, a bit of tan skin? And you don't really get dark with it, right? You get to your natural beautiful skin through that. So start spending more time in the sun every single day. Make it non-negotiable. That's the next thing. Now, the next one, how long can you go without sleep? How long? A week. We are the first generation which has a chronic sleep disorder. A chronic sleep disorder. And when we are sleeping, our body is recovering physically, mentally, emotionally. And when your sleep is messed up, and it's not about being in bed for 8 hours at all. It's not. It's about having a restful sleep for 8 hours. So this is a subject for another time. There's one of the books that for the people who are curious to go really deep into it is called Sleep Smarter. It's a very short book and it's just quick hacks. But one of the things you can do to optimize your sleep is, don't go to bed straight after watching like a documentary, binging on something, or through social media. All that is doing, all these devices, they're designed to create hyperactivity in our brain. Just before you go to sleep, we don't want to live like a monk in the Himalayas, right? We still want to enjoy this life. But right now we have the control has been given to us, and we are bad with control. That's the problem. Because there's a tiny part of our brain that makes us human, that is responsible for our willpower, our rational thinking. But the biggest part of our brain is the monkey brain, which wants instant gratification. And every time you get stressed or uncomfortable, your blood flow stops to your prefrontal cortex, which makes you human. So when you're stressed, and when you made a decision in your life, okay, I'm not gonna eat that junk food anymore. And then you get stressed and you know what, I'm just going to eat that anyway. It happens to everyone. The reason for that is the part of the brain that should tell you to not do that, the blood flow stops there. So how do you manage your stress? Because the moment you get stressed, you go on default mode, monkey brain, fight, flight, or freeze, right? And this is a version of flight. Now I lost my chain of thought. Where was I? Great. Sleep. Right? So when we are constantly sleep deprived, if we are constantly stressed, it is one of the biggest causes. Like your immunity goes down significantly if you're exercising. Just by having poor sleep, your muscle growth, for the guys out there, women as well, but for guys, the muscle growth is more significant. Your muscle growth goes down by 60% in 1 month. If your sleep is not proper, if you just maintain your sleep versus your sleep is crappy, no matter how much time you spend in the gym, like your muscle growth is 60% lower. Think about that, right? It's incredibly important. So what are the things that we can do to optimize our sleep? One is to not have screen time 1 or 2 hours before bed. It's going to be very difficult, especially for this generation that grew up only seeing technology, right? That's why the onus is on you, right? And if it won't happen, if at 9 p.m. you realize, okay, I'm too much on the phone, I need to stop. Because by that time, your monkey brain is engaged. What we need to do is prepare ourselves in the morning that when 9 p.m. comes, I'm doing something different. Do something more relaxing in the evening. Read a book, spend time with real people, spend time with your loved ones, right? Or just get on a call with friends. It's much better. And as much as you can, block the blue light exposure in the evening. I'm not going to go into too much detail with it, but the blue light is the screen time. Computers, mobiles, TV, all of that. And they all emit blue light. Blue light is supposed to be, think about evolution. Blue light in nature only exists in the morning and afternoon. It's quite evident in the morning, right? So when our eyes are receiving the signal that it's blue light, it thinks it's day. Right? When it thinks it's daylight out there, so it stops the preparation for sleep, even though your body should be preparing for sleep. It just stops all those functions. And this is why normally our biological clock is supposed to go around with our clock around the sun. It's called the circadian rhythm, right? This is our natural design. We're supposed to rise and sleep with the sun, and that's how it's supposed to be. But what ends up happening is that because we're constantly exposed to blue lights, it doesn't happen. And our biological system, our hormones, what hormones should we have at different points, different parts of the day, are connected to the kind of light that we get exposed to. That's how crazy it is. That if you don't have these blue light exposure when you're having normal sleep, what happens is when you're going to bed, it releases certain hormones. And one of the things it does, it shuts down your bowel system. So you don't have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It's not a good system, right? But the fact that if people are waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, that means your hormones are out of whack, right? There's different things that happen at different particular times of the day, which are completely in alignment with the sun. Now we cut the sun and we are in the sunlight 24/7, which is artificially produced through our devices, right? So that's the problem. And that's one of the chronic problems and one of the biggest reasons that creates anxiety, more anxiety than depression, right? So easiest things you can do is have blue light blockers on a computer. Have f.lux app. If you're an iPhone, it has a native app in and of itself. Just set a timer to after sunset, 7 p.m., remove all the blue light. And you'll have to it'll take some getting used to, but it's going to make a huge impact on the way you know, lead your life, right? Go to the bed at the same time. You guys are young. You can still abuse your body. Have that enjoyment as well. It's important, to push your body, abuse it, have some late night outings, more than a few late night outings. It's all good. But as long as you're aware, every single time there's a dis-ease or like you feel like you're out of your center, these are the things that you need to get back to. The idea is not to be a monk. We got to enjoy this life to the maximum amount. But right, when we go too far out of our alignment, we got to get back to our basics. That's number one. Fix the basics first. Cool? So that's the basic need. Let me see if I didn't miss anything. Good. Food. One more thing. Food. Our generation is also, we are the last two generations, the most overfed and undernutrition generation of all time. We have the abundance of food, and it's not high quality food. It is. So if you are someone who's, everybody knows it here. Every single person on this call knows what do you need to do to be healthy. Get some fruits and vegetables, drink more water, go for a run from every now and then, right? But we don't do it, right? One of the things to do is to, and I will talk about it towards the end of the call, how to manage it, but be mindful of your nutrition. As I said again, for young people, abuse your body, enjoy, like do all the crazy things as well, right? But if you're feeling out of alignment, you have to come back to the center again, right? And when I say abuse your body, I'm joking a bit, right? It's like, yes, have all of these things that are designed to maximize our pleasure. The modern lifestyle, this is the lifestyle that we get to enjoy, the kind of food that we get to enjoy. The kings and queens 100 years ago would not be able to even dream of this much liberty and this high intensity of pleasure that we get to enjoy just by like snapping a finger. So enjoy it, right? This is also our privilege. Be mindful that this is a privilege, but also understand that our operating system is not designed to live in the world that we're living in, right? So that's why now it takes mindfulness to be mindful of our own actions. This is why mindfulness meditation has become so relevant in our time, because otherwise our monkey brain keeps on running on automation all the time. If we bring a mindful practice every single day to us, it creates a bit of distance between our stress and us, our automated behaviors and us, right? It creates a bit of distance. So in the morning, bringing a mindfulness practice is significantly important, right? It cuts the cord between the stress that has been going on from the night before and continues and perpetuates the cycle. This is the basic need, right? This is the base of the pyramid. And if you're talking about mental health, this is the first thing that we need to fix. Nutrition. Just look internal, and unless you're on the extreme end of the spectrum where you need help to alleviate immediate pain, that please do that. Please do that. There are people with no fault of their own are on the extreme end of the spectrum. But the ones who are not, just bring mindfulness to not take the approach of let's fix this. Let's fix this. I have pain. I can fix it. I need to get through this quickly because I have a party 2 days later. Because the more we do that, the more we prolong our healing, and our natural ability to heal is significant. If you just get out of the way, if you completely get out of the way, it's significant. So all these basic needs are significantly important. And the problem is that if these needs are not met from time to time, no problem. From time to time, if you're away from food, for example, no problem. Fasting is great for human health and longevity. Time to time, you're like for a few moments, if you practice breathing techniques that gets you out of air, it's actually good for you. The small amount of stress actually does good to you, makes you grow. But chronic stress, like chronic deficiency, is the thing that needs to be addressed. Small amount of time for not having food is great. Not having sex is okay, right? And not having water is also great. But chronically, if you're doing that, that's the thing that causes problems. So it's important to understand that distinction. Now let's go to the next point. Once we meet the basic human needs, right? Food, water, sunlight, nutrition. What else is there? Food, water, sleep. Sorry, forgot the most important one: sleep. Yeah, and when you start, you'll also start noticing the more time you spend in the sun, your sleep will naturally start getting better. Naturally will start getting better. So there's a bunch of resources that I want to give to you, but I don't want to spend just all the time on this call, which I can very easily. just about any one of these subjects, but I want to cover the whole pyramid. And I want to give you an opening into what is the gateway to your greatest transformation, not just fix your mental health, but walk towards your mental fitness. So that's why I'm going a bit faster. The next level is your psychological needs. Once you meet your basic needs, then you can think about your psychological needs. And I want to give you the example of this. Are you guys familiar with, raise your hands if you're familiar with blue zones, the concept of blue zones in the world. Let me see. Anyone in these 6 screens? No one. Okay. Blue zones are places in the world where, like, I think there are about 7. Great, Ashish knows it. Okay, so there are places in the world where people consistently live beyond the age of 100. Like there's one in Okinawa, Japan. There's one in Sardinia, Italy. There's one in Costa Rica, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. I've been to 2 of those, and there's like Naples, Florida, and around the world, spread across the world. Now, scientists went to these places to figure out, hey, the people are consistently living beyond the age of 100 years old in the modern time. What are they doing different? And they went there, and they have all different diets. Italy and Japan, totally different diets, and versus Costa Rica, totally different diets. And they're like, what is the common pattern? And the first thing that they find is that the number one correlating factor with human longevity is not the food that you eat. It's not your jobs. It's not even your environment. It's the strength of your social connections, sense of belonging, sense of connection. This is why AIESEC is a freaking amazing organization. This is why it's an amazing organization, because it gives the vibe of, oh, is it a cult? It is, like how it should be. Right? It's an amazing organization that gives you meaning and expansion opportunities, right? And creates a strong sense of belonging, right? It's the reason why even 12 years later, when I've, like 6, 7 years later, when I've left the organization for good, I still associate like if it was yesterday, right? So the sense of belonging is really, really important. And the modern world that we are living in today, we are living in slight misalignment with that principle. It's important for us to know. I don't know if you've noticed, the more developed a country, the lesser is the human connection. Did you guys notice that? Right? And then mental health issues are on the rise. The physical health issues, divorce rates, suicide rates, obesity. What is happening? Right? I lived in Paris for like a year and a half. In Paris, 1 out of 5 people are clinically depressed. I found out that. Like, what is happening? Right? And we are becoming more and more lonelier. We're living in the age of loneliness. An average person in a modern society can go through their entire day, and in some unfortunate cases, their entire life, just meeting strangers. And we're not designed for that. We're evolutionarily designed in an ecosystem that we can grow with each other, push each other, and celebrate with each other, and creates this sense of belonging. Because we're social animals. Our survival depends on it. Our DNA is programmed to feel good when we are in connection with other people. And what we're doing is we're all plugged into our own reality, and completely different from the person sitting next to us in a cafe. It didn't happen a generation before. Never did. Right? It's the first time it's happening. It's not good or bad. It's just, it's our opportunity to make something meaningful of it. It's our challenge. So it's our opportunity to grow through it. Right? A previous generation had their own challenges and opportunities. This is ours. Right now in the modern world, we're living in slight misalignment with this principle that we are social animals. And there's a few trends influencing it. The number one is social media. Now, I don't know, raise your hands if you've seen the documentary Social Dilemma. If you haven't, this is one homework for everyone. Every single one, non-negotiable. Watch the documentary Social Dilemma. It will absolutely blow your minds off. And it's quite scary, even for me as a business owner and a creator. I'm also, it's accelerating what I get to do. And I think I do something meaningful, but it's also, I'm using the tool social media. So it's making me think to what extent am I the part of the problem, or what can I do to not perpetuate this problem? One of the things that we're doing is we are building our own platform where the people who are there in our tribe, it's an honor to serve them, really. If you know anyone from Life Like in Tribe, there's incredible people, right? So what we want to do is move away from all these social platforms, and we're building our own platform so that once they're there, we're not designing algorithm to just grab your attention every second, every second, every second. We're not selling it to advertisers at all. What we want to do is build an ecosystem which is more conducive to learning and tribes coming together and having meaningful connections, although virtually, because that is the modern world we live in. And it shifted many paradigms for me as well. And I'm looking forward to, I'm speaking with a lot of experts and reaching out to a lot of experts to see what their opinion is. Because you guys are the future generation, right? This is like, if we don't do something now, it's total annihilation. And so we guys have to figure out, how do we manage social media so it's our tool and it's not using us? Social media has become this, unfortunately, it's a trend. It's a tool, can be used for massive power, but we live in a world of duality, right? So good doesn't exist without evil. Light and darkness, they go hand in hand, right? It's naive to think that it's only light and not darkness, right? So it has tremendous power for the good and the bad, right? And what is happening is that, Jonathan Haidt is one of the really talented American social psychologists. I would highly recommend you guys to follow him. He said that after human beings, meet their basic needs of food, shelter, house, safety, they're constantly engaged in increasing their reputation, boosting, their prestige. They're constantly engaged in those activities. And it makes sense. It makes evolutionary sense because, if your prestige is higher, your reputation is higher in your community, it gives you what? Better choice of food, better choice of mate. That was the point, to increase your reputation. And there's a hierarchy in communities. But you'll have to act in a certain way. You have to engage in behaviors physically, mentally, emotionally that boost your reputation, right? But now with social media, it's made it virtual and way too easy. We live in a world where we're literally obsessed, addicted with our online reputation with no real connections. It's the first generation that is going through that, right? And especially you guys, you guys are born with smartphones, or maybe if not you, then your next generation for sure born with smartphones, or whatever updated version of it we'll have, right? So it's incredibly important for us to understand what we're doing is constantly engaging, or this technology, the addictive nature of these technologies is getting us addicted towards, being obsessed about an online image without focusing on what really is fulfilling. And it's again, our body is signaling the alarm, hey, this is not right, this is not right, and we don't understand what's wrong, right? And this is like, we're the most number of social friends today. Like, if you tell your parents, Dad, I have 2,000 friends on Facebook, or 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 friends on Facebook. In the beginning, the initial shock is like, what? Like, to tell to your grandparents, maybe, right? They'll be like, what? Like, you just have 10, 15, 20, 50 people in your community, 150 in your large community. That's how we live for a major part of human history, and it's deeply embedded in our DNA. So AIESEC serves that purpose of having, a community or village of tribe, because that's your local chapters and local offices. And that's the intention. The future-oriented companies will also need to start adopting. How can you give people real-world connection and not just online identities? Social media has become the biggest cause of loneliness and anxiety in the modern world. How do you manage it? It's up to you. One of the things that I can point you towards is watch the documentary Social Dilemma, and it will blow your mind. Right? And then there's other trends that are doing that. But one of the things that we can do for it is to be mindful and to find our tribe, find our people. We are naturally designed to not, go and build this lifestyle alone. This is a Western idea, and I'm not dissing it. I've also adopted it in different ways. To build highly independent lifestyle. It's about me, and I will get it done by myself, right? But we are not designed to be like we're right now. What do we determine as the success KPI? But there's only one KPI for quality of life. It's money, right? We're not thinking straight. Like we want to develop this highly independent lifestyle, and we're floating around in this, anti-social society in the name of building highly independent and individualistic lifestyle. But our success is not in our independence. It is in our interdependence. And that's the shift in paradigm that we need to bring. And the one way that we can do that is to find our people, find our tribe. These are people that are, it could be your friends, your family members. Spend physical time with them rather than just through the mobiles. right? Our biology responds to it. Our mind and body are connected, and it responds to it, and it flags the system when it's not. Okay, there was a audio break, which broke my chain of thought. Yeah, so sense of belonging and finding your tribe. So it's quite easy. You can go on Google and find people who are like you, who are interested in the same subjects as you, who want to learn the same things as you. If you're a student, AIESEC is a great tribe for you to join, right? If you are passionate about a certain subject, chances are there is a tribe for that. There's a tribe for literally everything. All it takes is a Google search, which you need to be mindful of, that it's not triggering you, it's not the ads, but people who are, if you're interested in, let's say, um, learning how to play a guitar, there are tribes that you can find, there's communities that you can find online, people near you who are also interested in the same thing. And there are book clubs. If you're interested in reading and learning, join book clubs, and all of those things are available to us. All we need to do is to take that first step in that direction, right? And that, to me, these two layers are the ones that build our mental health so far, our basic needs and our psychological needs. These are the things that build our mental health. That's the pyramid. So when there's a fire in the pyramid, when there's a fire that is getting alarmed, even if it's a physical health issue, that's where, that's holistic healing always talks about going back into the basics. Okay, what is the root cause of this? And the root cause is always in the hierarchy of needs. It's food, nutrition, sleep, water, sunlight, natural environment. I'm not even talking about how much electromagnetic radiation that we are exposed to. I didn't even talk about it. One of the things that you should do is to ground yourself in the morning. Walk bare feet on grass, 10 to 15 minutes in the morning. I'm not going to go into details, but this is the easiest way to neutralize the impact of the constant electromagnetic frequency that we're exposed to all the time. Shut down your Wi-Fi in the evening. I don't know if anybody does that here. Shut down your Wi-Fi every evening. It's very simple to do. And you not only increase your lifetime, especially for the people who are older than you, especially at this time, it's even more critical. So all these things that I'm talking about, I hope you learn them for yourself, but also for people who are in your family who are a bit older. So be mindful of that. But this builds mental health. But mental health is, absence of disease. It's like functioning as it should. Mental fitness talks about what is the potential, how far can I go, right? Once I have my base, how far do I go? That's mental fitness, and that's the premise that Life Plugin is really, really interested in. That's what I do, and this is why I do every single thing, right? Because that's what I'm interested in. How far can I push myself and grow and surprise myself in my mental ability, physical ability, the amount of money I can make, the depth of relationships that I can enjoy, the depth of my ability to be as vulnerable and as honest and as truthful as I can be, even when it's hard. All of those things, how far can that go? That's mental fitness. And how we do that is, first, is having a mindset. I mentioned in the beginning, Jack Canfield, right? And the mindset of learning, our ability to learn. Right now, the world that we live in today, the ability to learn is the number one skill that differentiates between who you are and who you want to be. Like, whoever is your biggest role model in your life and where you are, the difference between the two of you is how much knowledge, wisdom the other person has learned. It's not learned intellectually, but know that in their being. That's the number one skill that determines your success. And we live in this world where I talked about our quality of life as this one KPI, which is money, maybe 2 or 3 for some, right? We're getting a bit more mindful, but still it's a dominant thought process in our mind that, okay, it's money, I need to make more money, right? And yeah, it's great, it is a great KPI, but there's many other indicators of what about my physical health, right? If I make money and I will not be able to enjoy that money, what about that, right? What about my relationships? Like, what about my love relationship with my wife? Just don't want to find a beautiful wife and 3 years later and done with the relationship, make it a production economy, have 2 kids and then make them grow and then follow that cycle. How do I have a deeply passionate, emotional, intimate relationship with my wife for the next 30 years? I'm still on that quest, right? And how do I grow myself intellectually, spiritually? What about my character? How do I develop my leadership skills? One of the things that AIESEC talks about. character. Right? There's so many different areas of our life. And I don't want to be a fat, balding dude at 40 in a red Ferrari. It's not very interesting to me. Right? You're not just the, understand, you're not just the CEO of your business. You're the CEO of your life. And you got to manage all these different functions equally if you want to go to mental fitness. Right? And what we need to look at when we talk about the industry of personal growth, or the premise of personal growth, which is how can I grow my mind, my body, my career, relationships, spirituality, character, emotional well-being? How can I constantly grow in that? That is personal growth, right? And what we need to understand is the difference between personal growth as a lifestyle versus personal growth as quick fix. It is not about, oh, I am stressed, I need to meditate, right? Or, oh, I have a beach vacation coming up, so I need to find a fitness program. Or you guys are too young for it, but maybe 10 years later, oh, or 15, 20 years, like, oh, my relationship with my wife is really, really terrible. I need to find a relationship psychotherapist. Right? It's not about that. Right? It's not a quick fix. And it can be used as a quick fix as well. No problem. But the premise that I believe and that we try to bring with Life Plugin, with every single thing that we do, is that your level of professional success, or any success that you have in mind, your level of professional success seldom exceeds your level of personal development. Because you attract success by becoming the person that is worthy, or that is worthy of getting that in their life, right? So it's not even, and this is not my quote, it's by Jim Rohn, so you can find him. And another one is that speaks really truly to me, is that it's not about achieving any goal. You can have, everyone has big goals and aspirations, even though you may not have put them on paper, or you may have. We have big goals and aspirations in multiple different areas of our lives. But it's not about achieving goals. Not at all. It's about who do I need to become to achieve those goals. That's the real game. And any goal that you have accomplished, by the life experience that you have, there are many things that you wanted and you've gotten. It's not about that. It's about the shift in identity that it makes to you. Growth is a spiritual need. Our sense of growth and progression is a spiritual need. So what we need to do is not look at personal growth as a quick fix to solve patchwork on our problems, but live it as a lifestyle. To live in a constant pursuit. How can I grow my mind, body, career, relationships, spirituality? Constant pursuit of that and growing in that cycle again and again. Let me see if I didn't miss anything. Yeah. So that is the premise of mental fitness. And this is where practices like mindfulness comes into being. This is where practices like taking care of your health comes into being. Right? Taking care of it, like I don't have a picture for it, and I'm glad I don't have a picture for it. In 2019, we did Himanshi was here. Himanshi's father was also there. We did a campaign called the Look Good Naked campaign with our Life Plugin tribe. Where I realized that I know a lot about fitness and peak performance and biohacking, and I have known it for, I would say, 4 years now, by then, actually. But I wasn't, and I would look okay, like good, not okay, good on pictures, much better than I did 8 years ago. But it wasn't without the t-shirt. And I wasn't the perfect living, breathing, walking, talking proof of fitness, like cover of the magazine. So I said, hey, how about we create a community around it? And we take people through a Look Good Naked challenge. And where the goal is within 6 months, you're going to get to a 6-pack ab or a beach body for men or women, both. And we took 32 people from our tribe, Life Plugin tribe, between 6 months window. And we decided we'll bring like modeling photography on the other conference where we closed the challenge, and we wanted to guide people through a slow and gradual process to transform their bodies. And I went from never having like a ripped body to like 6-pack abs in 6 months. The interesting thing, and there's only one picture, by the way, that picture is for my kids. There's only one. I put it for my kids, and I will tell them, until you look like that, you don't talk to me. Right? You don't talk to me about fitness or nutrition. That's what the picture is for. But I took that and I put it on social media. What's meaningful to me is that once I got there, what do you think? Like, I'm asking you, if I transform my body so much that I got to like absolute best shape of my life, it's not just my mental fitness, it's not just my physical fitness. Do you think that improved my self-esteem? Do you think that improved my energy in my body, that allows me to spend more time on my business? Do you think that influenced my business? Do you think that influenced my intimate relationship with my wife? because the way I think about myself, right? And the way our bodies look, the way our bodies have energy. All of that, all of these areas are intertwined. It's not a standalone area, it's one life. That's why I said, think about not CEO of your business obsessively, but business is important, but there's 12, 11 other categories that you can think about, right? So think about all of them. And once you influence one, it influences every other. If you improve your relationship, your sense of self-esteem also increases. Your sense of confidence also increases. They push you to grow in different directions that you want to grow in. They can be supportive in any new risk that you might want to take. Every area you influence, it influences every other area. So this is where developing a mindful practice, reducing stress, developing mindfulness practice also allows you to reprogram your subconscious mind if you want to go deeper. Changing your self-image, changing your self-esteem, right? And you can also work on being a better partner, better person, right? If you're young, how can I live a life that is coming from a place of truth, that I can always speak my truth? Because right now we try to not hurt anyone, please other people, and that's how we learn. That's what we all learn, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But one part of growing up and part of mental fitness is to now unlearn it. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. When you start riding a bicycle, you put support the training wheels, and you learn and you drive and you get good at it. And then at some point, the training wheels, they slow your pace down, and at that time you have to remove the training wheels, right? And that's the process of unlearning. That's the mindset that we need to have. How can I show up from a place of truth, right? With every single person that I have an interaction with, it's incredibly important for people in AIESEC. Right, when we are as everybody will grow here into becoming leaders in different shapes and forms, one of the most important quality to pursue, it's hard. It's almost an impossible thing in the horizon. But the most important thing to pursue is how can I show up with truth every single time, even if it hurts someone in the short term. Because the truth is, if we care about someone, and if you don't tell them the truth, they don't get the pain from receiving the truth, and they will never change and improve. So if we care about someone, and that's why we say, oh, I shouldn't tell them the truth, we're actually doing a disservice to them, because we're denying an opportunity of growth to them, right? And speaking our truth doesn't give us a right to be an asshole, right? And there's a thin line between it. You can be like, oh, I'm just in the spirit of truth, I'm just gonna speak what I wanted to tell you all along, right? But our ability to speak our truth comes from a place where, if we have made peace with every single thing I am, the light and the darkness, the good and the bad, the thing that I'm ashamed of and proud of, both are me. And we need to bring light to both of those things. And mindfulness does that to us. Mindfulness allows us to shine light on our darkness and hold it with the same regard as we hold the things that we count as our biggest strengths. Right? So when we are able to hold that within us with loving, compassionate energy, when we speak from that place, the other person knows that it's not coming from a place of blame, but it's coming from a place of truth. It can hurt, right? But that's an element of character, right? So how do you do that? So every single area of your life, start thinking about those things, start having goals about those things. What kind of a person do I need to become? What kind of lifestyle do I want to have? Do I want to live a lifestyle of being physically active for a really, really long time? Then yeah, write it down. And the moment you write it down, something interesting happens. If it's in your head, you forget. But the moment you write it down, it is clear. It's removed from the noise and it goes straight on paper. There's enough studies done on it. There's one of them, I forget the university that they did it in. I remember the university because I thought this might be fake statistics, but it isn't. You're 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you just write them. And the reason you make it, the way you can make it more powerful is by writing the reason why that is important to you. Not just I want to be ripped or like have a really good beach body, great. But why? If you write the why, then it becomes even more stronger, right? So if you're clear about why is a specific goal important to you, and if you've written it down, you have way more. You've stacked the deck in your favor, right? When you do that, so write down what is the kind of person you want to become, physically, mentally, emotionally, character-wise. How do you want to serve your community, right? When we go beyond mental health, we are thinking about way beyond ourselves. Right? We think about mental fitness, so we got to carry other people. Not that if you think about spiritually, nobody needs any help. Everybody is in their own, more Maya, easier to understand with Indian audience, right? Maya, it's an illusion, right? There's nobody needs any help. But what we need to do is our fulfillment comes from two things: our growth and our contribution. That's that's the element of fitness, mental fitness. How do we serve something bigger than ourselves? Because human beings are wired for service. And there's this quote by Jay Shetty, which I love. It says that human beings are wired for service, but they're educated for greed. And it's phenomenal, right? And what we need to do is, how can I serve something bigger than myself? Have goals for that. Genuine goals, not because it would sound cool. And if you don't have the answer, no problem, right? You don't have to get to the end of the pyramid in the next 3 years. What will you do for the rest of your life? Right? This is a constant pursuit. So whatever, you don't have to, impact the world straight away, right? What we need to do is, today I get to speak about maybe 3,000 people a year, maybe live events. So now with online events, maybe 4,000, 5,000. But there was a time when I was only teaching 5 people who are my friends and my family, and then 100 people in random student organization. And then the interesting thing is, the more you focus on your circle of influence, you can serve just your parent, just your sibling. Focus on what's your circle of influence, not what your circle of, what is outside your circle of influence. And what starts to happen, if the goal is, hey, I just want to serve 1 million people, it's just way too outside your circle of influence. So it doesn't happen. It causes more anxiety, causes more sense of, oh, I'm not good enough. Social media perpetuates that narrative, because now we're not just competing with 150 people in our village. We're competing with 2.7 billion people on the planet that are available on social media. Impossible standards to strive for. What we need to do is, what is in my circle of influence? And the more we focus on our circle of influence, the more that circle of influence expands. So whether it's your fitness journey or your career impact, service journey, whatever that is, focus on what's my current circle of influence, focus on that, act there. And the more you focus on it, the more it will start to gradually expand. And that's the key. It's literally it's easy to set big, massive goals. And this is a syndrome in AIESEC as well. Set big, hairy, audacious goals, and that's cool. But we also need to bring down to what is in my circle of influence. And AIESEC does that also pretty well, actually, but can be done better, right? So this is one of those things that we need to bring this philosophy in our lives. Now, how do we bring all of this together? 1 second. Is this interesting so far? Yeah? Okay. Do you have any questions? Maybe we can pause here for quick questions or thoughts. I'll open the chat box and see your faces. If you haven't turned on your videos yet, turn them on, please. Okay, if you have any questions, I'll just pause for 1 minute, and then I'll just come into what are the action steps that you can take now. Questions, thoughts? No, no, yes, no. Yes, you can type it in the chat so I can, you have about a minute to type the questions if you have in your mind, put them in the chat so I can at least address it in the next segment or after. Okay. Let me close this chat. Yeah, Zainab Irfan asked, is it okay to want financial independence so that you can live in an environment where you have the freedom to grow? What is the only answer to that question? Yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with wanting something different. But the idea is to focus on your circle of influence. If it is too far away in the future, have that goal and walk towards that goal slowly and slowly. What is the next step that you can do to feel independent? Right? What is the thing that you can do to feel independent? Because to want financial independence, oftentimes we don't know the meaning of it. When we say hey, I'm going to be my own boss as an entrepreneur, It's not what you think. There's way more sense of safety and freedom when you're an employee. Being an entrepreneur is like, you can be entrepreneurial. Everybody can be, but being an entrepreneur is you have to be a bit delusional, right? And that's good. We have to be delusional with the vision that you can say that this is the vision that I want to follow, or I can join somebody else's vision, which is a cause that is worthy for me to support. And both are equally good. We've exaggerated the importance of just the entrepreneur, and that is also through the Western world. It's really through the Western world. Like the person who is leading everyone is the great person, but anybody can be a leader. It's not about the person standing in front of the audience. And this is a crazy experiment that they did. I'm forgetting which book. It's also in the Lost Connections, the book that I mentioned before. But they showed a picture of a guy speaking to an audience on stage to a bunch of Americans. And when they showed it to Americans, they were 80% more likely to notice the person speaking on stage. And then they showed the same picture of a guy speaking on stage to a large audience, to Asians. I think it was to people in China. And they were 80% more likely to notice the audience, not the person. More community oriented. So we are in what I'm trying to explain is we are exaggerating this idea that we need to be our own self, and I need to be free. There's freedom can be found within, right? And there's many different ways to find it, right? And financial freedom is a worthy goal to have. But if it's too far away, first we need to do is, what does that mean, right? So when somebody's asking, what is I want to be financially free, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? What does that look like? Let's start answering those questions, and then you'll realize, maybe if you look at the financial independence, it's talking about passive income. How much passive income should you grow for, where you don't have to work and the money keeps on coming in and you're free, right? So there's different definitions, but what are we looking through financial freedom? One of the good lenses to set goals or have mindset towards what goals should I have is understanding this distinction between means goal and ends goal. Means goal is, I want this so that I can do that. I want to do I want to study engineering, or my parents want me to study engineering so that I can get a successful job as an engineer. Why do you want that? So that I can get a successful job and I make so money so I can live in the city and have this kind of house. Okay. So that's the goal. Yeah, my goal is money and the kind of lifestyle that I want to have. So the distinction is to have clear goal for the end, not the means, because our brain is a highly sophisticated machine. Highly sophisticated. Whatever goal you give it, it will start achieving only that goal, and it will remove every other information. It recognizes patterns to get you towards your goal. So when you're setting a goal, make sure that it is the end goal. It is the end game. And one of the ways to do that is to just by asking why. Like if you ask why like 5 times, you get to, just because I want it. I think it'll be a meaningful idea, right? And even if it is wrong, at least you've got, if it gets proven wrong later on, maybe it was just a vanity goal. That's fine. At least the pursuit of it will make you learn something about growth, about pursuing, and that's meaningful enough. But the first step is to have a distinction between means goal or an ends goal. Like, do you want independence? Is it from a person? Is it a relationship that you're trying to run away from? Because the chances are, if it's a relationship dynamic that you're trying to run away from, it often gets amplified with the people that we live with, but it's the same relationship dynamic that we have with every single person. It's our way of the way we view ourselves in the context of others, right? So it goes deeper into how our subconscious programming is done and what is the image of ourselves that we carry in our minds. So freedom can be found just where you are within, right? So there's multiple different ways of getting it. So have a distinction between means goal and ends goal. We'll look through some questions. Is it okay to a goal to only fulfill your own needs instead of performing service to society? Yeah. Like in the beginning, that's what we'll do. And when you say you can't, put your safety mask first before you can put it on others, that's the philosophy. Right? You gotta, when you have a saucer and a cup on top. This is Lisa Nichols give this analogy, really cool. Right? So you have a saucer and a cup, and then you fill the cup with some juice, some love, and you don't serve people from your cup. You let the cup overflow and you serve them from the saucer, right? You got to take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others. Self-care is not selfish. So the answer is yes. Pursuing your goals is meaningful and important. Actually, should be put first, right? And but not being extremely egotistical. There's a slight difference. Understanding that I'm not a self-made person. Nobody is. Nobody is a self-made person, right? So thinking that I'll be my own self-made person is arrogant and is egotistical. And, there's a part of the journey where the need to feel that I am my own person is good. It's important, but there will come a point where we understand how closely interdependent we are, and then we understand, nobody's self-made. So if the thought is coming from a place of ego, no problem. Ego is also good. Ego needs to sit in the car, should just not drive the car, right? Because ego is the thing that pushes us to grow. That when things get difficult, we'll still be. The willpower comes from ego, right? So ego is a great thing to have, but not to be obsessed by that. I want to prove everybody wrong, and that may be something that you may not offer you fulfillment. Not in my experience. What's my take on obesity ratio in India versus the world? Well, wherever the modern lifestyle is going, the obesity is following. It's just the nutrition is a big problem. Our lifestyle has completely become sedentary, and we don't think about this as a problem. And now, we have to be careful to not shame, right? So it's good, but then we feel the shame within. Like I've been like there were periods where I was 20, like the heaviest I've been. Then I was 22 kilos heavier than I am now at my peak, at my worst physical health condition. I took a year off to study engineering, to crack through IIT exams back in the day. So I studied 18 hours a day for a year straight, right? So because I'm a learning freak, that's one of my skills. I know where that comes from, and we'll talk about that some other time. But the idea of obesity is to understand there's no mindfulness. We are eating mindlessly. Every time we get bored, we eat. Every time we get like any kind of uneasiness, we go to eat, and we find comfort food. There's a big hunger called emotional hunger, right? And we are overfed and undernutritioned. And when we are undernutrition, our body creates a hunger response. Our body creates a hunger response if it feels it needs more nutrients. And it creates a hunger response, eat more. And then you go and eat the things that have no nutritional value. Right? So we are constantly, perpetually overfed and undernutritioned. Right? So what we need to do is not to remove all the bad stuff from the diet straight away, but at least we got to make sure that the good stuff is already in the food, in the body. So that when you put in some stuff which is a bit sinful, and we got to enjoy this life, right? We got to enjoy the treatment that kings and queens could not dream of like a century ago. That's what we all get to enjoy. So we got to make the most of it. But we got to also not be too much out of the alignment, right? So obesity has become this issue because we are doing everything mindlessly. That's why mindful practice needs to come into everything, because right now all the onus has been given to us. This is one of the things. Previously, religion used to do this for us. We keep on bashing religion, it's outdated, it has so much dogma attached to it, religious fundamentalist. But religion is also the most sellable story in the world. It's bought by billions of people, right? And embedded in those stories are principles that give us automatically, by default, sense of community, sense of belonging, sense of health. This is why fasting is embedded by default in every single major religion in the world, because it has it correlates with human health and longevity. People don't get obese when they're fasting, and every religion has it. But now in our generation, nobody fasts because there's God stuff is all crap. Nobody believes in that. I don't believe in that story. And when you abandon the story, you abandon every single benefit that comes with it, right? And like my mom, she is a Hindu, and she would fast once every week, just by default, just because of her religious faith. And our generation, the onus is given to us. And what we need to find is, when there's so much responsibility, we have absolute freedom that nobody else had. Right? But what that also means is we need to seek out information and find what's best for us, and then do that. And that takes mindfulness, because our brain is not designed to think. It's designed to put things on automation. It doesn't like making decisions again and again. It doesn't like it. So that's why it would rather make a decision once and not change it. Right? And in the instant gratification world that we're living in, especially with social media, where we're constantly reminding each other, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And then you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And food marketing industry is as evil as the tobacco industry. Right? This is one of my mentors, Eric Edmeades. He talks about it at length. Right? What tobacco industry was doing in the 60s, there were doctors recommending cigarettes on camera, on TV. Like, this is the best thing for your teeth. Now the food marketing industry is doing the same thing. And the onus lies on us again. Because there's no over-encompassing belief system that takes care of this for us on automation. Religion used to do that. Right now, mindfulness practice is required. Right? And I wish, like I mentioned, right, our brain doesn't like to think. It likes to put things on automation. And I wish habit formation was sexier. I wish the topic of building meaningful habits was sexier, because that is a game changer. That is the only thing. And if there's one thing, the one book that I can recommend on this, it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. Well, it's absolutely life-changing book. When I read it I think I read it in 2016, 15 or 16, and I made the most notes out of that book that year. It's phenomenal. Right? And that's what I want to come to in the close. Like, how do we engineer, and what are the things that we can do now? In a moment, I want to ask you, like, your biggest things that you have learned from it. So prepare that. Think about the things that you've learned in this engagement so far. Because I'd be curious to know as well, what are the things that are landing most with you that makes me a better teacher. Right? And one thing that I want to tell you to take back from this is to have a non-negotiable morning routine. How do you implement anything that we want to do? Right? How do we start having a perfect life? How do we start having a perfect life? How do we have a perfect day? Which is a myth. Right? The goal is not to have, and this is what Gary Keller talks about, one of the things, is not to have a perfect day, but it is to have the perfect start of the day. And that perfect start of the day builds that momentum that carries you through the day. And when we're talking about mental health, mental fitness, emotional resilience, what we need to do is to have the perfect start of the day. How many of you start your day with your phone on? Yeah, even if, yeah, look around, like everybody, raise your hands. It's and we've all fallen prey to it. I'm not like a superficial God floating above you all. Like, I've also had that. It takes mindfulness to realize, oh shit, this is a bit extreme. And what we need to do is, Gary Keller found 5 a.m. club is also good. I prefer Gary Keller because he talks about neuroscience from a very meaningful perspective. And 5 a.m. club is also really good. So I actually merged the two for myself, so I can share my routine as well. What he talks about is that highly effective people across industries, they do 4 things every morning. They meditate or pray for spiritual energy. They meditate and pray for spiritual energy. They spend time with their loved ones for emotional energy, like this, like hug, kiss your kids, or hug your family members, or kiss your wife for emotional energy. They take care of your body, exercise and eat well, the best meal of the day, and exercise for physical energy, and plan the most important thing of the day that will make their day successful, just one, for business energy or success energy. These are the 4 things that they do. It is non-negotiable. And this is what happens before your flight mode turns off from your phone. So when I started this habit, this is, as I mentioned, I read it in 2015-16. So I was in Kuala Lumpur. The way I started my habit and shifted my morning routine, I would wake up at 5:20 a.m. So 5 a.m.-ish is club, 5:20 a.m. And I would spend the first 15 minutes in my bed with Celia, my girlfriend at the time, wife now, and hopelessly in love, romantic, just like giving all my love to her. And her eyes are closed and she's smiling, and she knows every morning it happens to her, right? So that's her receiving time. And I leave the bed by 5:35, and I take my morning smoothie and whatever I need to take before I head to the gym. I leave at 5:55. I get to the gym by 6. I would train between 6 to 7. I get to the office by 7:15. I had the liberty to shower at the office. So I would shower there, change there, and then I would go and lock myself in a room. My phone is still not on. Lock myself in a room. I would meditate, and then whatever the process of meditation is, I would dedicate about 15 to 30 minutes to that, and then I would block the next 2 hours for getting the most important thing of my work done. This was the time I spent in Mind Valley, and by the time it was 10:53, which was my first business meeting, I was done with my day, and the office used to start at 10. Right? And that created a significant momentum, even accelerated my growth in Mind Valley. Right? So I'm just giving you an example. There are multiple ways that you guys can do it, right? But applying these things in your life makes it a game changer. So my question to you is that of all the things that we've talked about so far, and I know it can be overwhelming, like how can you design your non-negotiable morning routine, which is non-negotiable? So your phone is on flight mode before you go to bed, and it doesn't turn on before that. If your self-care is not selfish, so give the first 1 hour, 2 hours of your day, 3 hours to your life, to yourself. Spend time, like you can use that time if you want to invest on yourself, on a book that you want to read, right? Have healthy nutrition, have really healthy fats, whole foods in the morning. It curbs your hunger and doesn't make you hungry throughout the day. So eat really healthy fat food in the morning. If you eat eggs, lots of eggs, avocados, nuts. If you're a vegan, vegetarian, eat nuts in the morning. Eat healthy whole foods. The thing that I would recommend to remove from your breakfast is anything that is carbohydrates, right? So if you can, remove it. If you can't remove it, remove the processed one. So all the wheat and the bread and stuff, remove it. Just have fruits in the morning. Or better yet, fast in the morning. Right? Spend the first 1 to 2 hours of your morning for yourself. How would you do it? Like how would you, what would you do in these 4 categories? Your spiritual energy, your emotional energy, your physical energy, and your success energy. What are the 4 things that you would do every morning? And take about a minute to think about that. And I'll look through the questions. And the reason why I want you to do this now is for you to be able to write it. Because by the end of it, I want you to make a commitment to yourself. Because it's not going to be, I am certain that I'll receive a lot of, because I've shared these things many times before. So I know, like, a lot of you will be inspired. And a lot of you, one of the things that happens with inspiration is this. I get inspired, and the first thing I do is I go tell everyone. You got to do this. This guy said something really interesting. You got to do this. And nobody does this. The reason for that, every parent, I don't know if there are some parents on this call. Every parent knows this. Your children don't do what you tell them to do. They do what you do. Right? So if you want to make an impact on the people that you care about, be the proof of every single thing that you want to teach them. Be the proof, and then let them come to you and say, hey, what changed? What changed? And then when they come and ask you, and then the place that you will tell them from, I can guarantee you they will change it. It's that simple. So be the proof. So that's why I want you, by the end of it, to take a commitment. What are the changes that you will make from this moment on? Non-negotiable. And try, I really hope, be strict with yourself with that. Because the world that we live in right now, if we don't bring our own mindfulness, our own intelligence, our own humanity towards taking care of our own well-being, like the world that we've created so far is not going to support it automatically. Right? So spend the first 1 or 2 hours for that. So take about a moment and write down what are the 4 things that you would do, 3 to 4 things. Maybe one of those things might be to wake up earlier, whatever those things are. And I'm curious, if you've done writing, just type them so we can all see. We can all see, and we can all take inspiration from each other. Let's take this moment to see that. What are the commitments that you want to make for yourself between now and in the next 30 days that for sure are non-negotiable? Yeah, Vishnu says, I'll be better than yesterday every day. Great point. What I would recommend is to be not fluffy, right? Because you don't know how will you know that you did it or not? What we want to do is, we want to know, if I look at this list, I should know if I did it or not. Because if you know, then it will change your self-image. If you did it for 7 days in a row, you're like, I am someone who does this. right? I will be better than yesterday every day. It's a belief that gets formed over years. It's a meta belief. And what we want to do is when we're changing the habit, we want to be as specific as possible. Shraddha mentioned read something every day. Great. Make it better. Read something every day. Make it as easy as possible. If your reading is habit is hard, just say read 1 page a day. That's good enough. Because when you start reading a page, you continue more. But have minimum. If I can't read anything, and if I'm falling behind on everything, I will at least read 1 page a day. That's non-negotiable. And reducing screen time. Again, make it tangible. By how much? Or between what times I will not watch it. Screw reducing it. Between these times, I would not do it, right? Morning routine, I would not do it. And evening 1 hour before, maybe I wouldn't do it. And pay attention to the addiction that kicks in within when you will be away from the phone. Just pay attention to it. When that happens, say, okay, the addiction is back. Don't just, because that addiction is causing a stress response, shutting down your brain function. If you just breathe through it and relax and say, okay, I'm feeling this sensation of, getting close to my phone when I promised not to. Just pay attention, be friends with that addictive behavior because you also created that, right? So just be more specific, reducing my screen time, removing it in the morning and the evening, Appreciating little things, being self-motivated is great. The reason why I don't talk about gratitude is because gratitude is thrown around like left, right, and center, and it doesn't land as deeply. But gratitude is my superpower. Like when I talk about be whatever you gratitude is the energy of receiving. If you want to grow in something to a healthy degree, it is great to keep on saying, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. What it is doing, it is signaling to your brain that I don't have that, I don't have that, right? So that is the energy of lack. So to a healthy degree, it's good, it's not unwanted. But if we obsess over it, if we keep on focusing on lack and lack and lack, what we start seeing is more and more lack. Or if you are some of the people who believe in law of attraction, what you start attracting is more things to feel lack for. And when you're in gratitude, anything that if you want to grow your health today, here's what I want you to do. If you want to change your body, start changing your health today. Instead of saying, I want to have that body, I want to have that body, I want to have that body. Be grateful for the things that you took care of your body today. And just be in the energy of receiving. I'm so grateful that I did this today. So grateful that I did this today for my body. And the more we are in the energy of receiving, and the more that starts to expand, we start to receive more. Suddenly we'll start saying, my schedule cleared. Suddenly I'm getting the right information to change my body even better. So instead of focusing on, I want to get to that level of body, but focus on what am I grateful for? How did I take care of my body today? That's how gratitude can be a superpower and can be applied to anything. So really good point. Try not to be hard on yourself. Yes, great. This is great. What I want you to do, again, morning routine is about specificity, right? It will take care of you not being hard on yourself. Have you ever had a perfect day? Like you woke up, things were good, like you accidentally ate something healthy, or you exercised, you felt really good about yourself. You've had those days. You're not beating yourself up on those days. And the reason for that is that you made sure that the beginning of the day, you nailed it, right? So how do you nail your day every morning? And that's the key, the way you can take some of this information from this engagement and apply it in your life. One of the easiest ways is to do it through a non-negotiable morning routine, because in the morning you also have your willpower is the highest. So the things that are most difficult, you can do it with the most ease in the morning. And when you do the most hardest things in the morning already, they're out of your way, the rest of the day is smooth. You will not be hard on yourself if you've taken care of the things already in the beginning. Sweet. Now go have a look at the list that people are sharing here. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Great. Just have a look, and if some ideas speak to you, steal them. Steal them for your own morning routine. No problem. If any idea, any story, any quote that I shared that you want to share anywhere else or use it in your life, steal it. Your job is to pay it forward. There's every single thing I've shared here, every single thing is not, I created some things or put them in a unique way and applied it in my own life, and I'm sharing through an experience. True, but there's been hundreds of teachers in my life that have influenced my thinking, right? And this is what happens. There's so many times when I learn from some teachers and I get inspired and I feel like, wow, there's so much I've learned. I wish I could pay them back. But they, like, some of them have passed on. Some of them I've learned from their books or podcasts I will never meet, and some of them would never want me to pay them back anything. Right? So the mindset to have, and this is what I tell myself, and, oh great, I will steal all of that. I will take it in my life, and I know I cannot pay you back, but I promise to pay it forward. So pay it forward. Right? Anything that you learn from here, just steal it, no problem. And the way you pay it forward is by being the proof, not by speaking it to somebody else. Wouldn't work. So that's a trick for you to fall into. All right, guys. So we're coming to a close of this. Thank you so much for spending this much time on this call. If there's, I'll ask my host here if there's a space for Q&A, or if there's any thoughts, if there's any feedback, I would love to know. So if they send you a feedback, and now they will because I asked, do share it with me. I would love to know the good, bad, and the ugly. It helps me get better. So please do share that.
Yes.
Yes, Himanshi.
Yes, we will definitely share the feedback. Firstly, thank you so much for taking the space up, for giving us the time as well through your extreme busy schedule. The space was extremely, extremely nice, super inspiring, super pumped up. Uh, and I have seen stories of people from like all age groups, from like 10, 14 years old to parents as well who were attending it. So it was really, really, really good. Helped us figure out those little details that we generally miss out, whether it's the sunlight or the sleep or the food. And I have noted down my commitments and my non-negotiables as well. So thank you so much for the space. I hope we all implement it. Aziz, do you want to say something?
All right. I think we have. I can't express the whole gratitude from my side because it was. I can't believe it's been 2 hours since I'm just sitting here. Uh, Throughout the whole session while going on, I was getting messages from different people saying me, "Oh my God, that was so right." You know, especially the part when you ended just saying that accidentally ate healthy today, and you know that's something which happened to me as well in the morning. So it kind of got me a lot of thinking. It was quite you know a journey of being self-aware for me as well. I hope it was for people who participated as well. um, and right now my brothers and my cousins, they are in my aunt's house. They are watching this right now, and they are just so happy that I invited them to attend the whole session. And thank you so much, Gautam. And I'm just very happy the way the whole event turned out. It was just one thought which me and Himanshi